we are thankful for this day and the opportunities this day provides to gather as your people, to think about the opportunities we have to use the gifts and abilities you've given to us to serve you in your kingdom, to make your name known in this world so that more people may not only know how you condemn sin, but also how you have provided the solution by suffering and dying for us. So we thank you for the gospel message that gives us peace and joy in the midst of all kinds of turmoil in our lives. We are privileged to gather together as your people here and to worship and honor you and serve you, Lord. So give us wisdom and guidance as we do that as Woodlawn Evangelical Lutheran Church. Thank you for all your blessings, Lord, and be with us today and always. In your name we ask it. Amen.
Would you like to go first, Pastor Knazer, with the pastor's report?
Just ministry-wise, I've got a whole bunch of stuff, so I put the mic on right away. So, as far as church attendance and membership, new family, our new teacher and her husband, the Wilkins. If you haven't had a chance to meet them at the picnic or anything like that, feel free, or I encourage you to introduce yourselves to them. The elders met a couple weeks ago and looked at especially people or where we're at as far as attendance in church and those who have not yet attended church since the beginning of the pandemic. We have about 80 communicants who have not attended in that 18 months, and that does not include shut-ins, people who aren't able to get to church, but those who were able to beforehand at least, and still haven't been back to church since mid-March of 2020. Another 35 or so, 35 to 40, have been to church once or twice in that 18 months. So we've got about 130 or 120 of our members, which is about a third of our communicant members. The elders have, those lists, and are making plans and how to tackle that issue. Some of those folks obviously were delinquents before the pandemic too, but how to especially reconnect the 80 or 90 that had been coming before the start of the pandemic, and trying to serve them with the gospel. Hopefully many of them are watching online, but we don't know that 100%. So if you know of such people, encourage them, speak to them if they would like to speak to us. If they've got concerns yet, we would like to know those. So that's where we're at as far as church attendance. Our numbers were around 440 souls in the congregation, 375 communicants in church. Since the beginning of July, we're averaging 136 in worship, which is more than we had last summer, obviously, when we had just reopened. But it's about the summer of 2019, we were averaging about 185 in church. So what is that, 75% or so of where we were pre-pandemic 2 years ago. That's all I have as far as membership or actual ministry. I got a whole bunch of other stuff from other committees, but anybody have any questions on membership stuff or church attendance or anything related to that? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to the new hymnal. That's a big thing on our plate. The worship committee's been doing planning on that. If you haven't taken a look, we have 2 copies. This is the hymnal. There's also a gray book out on the table in the entryway. That's called the Psalter. We got 2 free copies of it. We pre-ordered 200 copies of the hymnal because we figured that's what we needed for in church, and a few scattered around in different meeting rooms and that, so that we would have those available. And we also pre-ordered 100 psalters. And the Psalter is a book of Psalms. And in the new hymnal, in the current hymnal, the red hymnal, we have about 36 or 40 Psalms. And they're all basically follow the same format. We've introduced a few others that came with the supplement, about 10 years ago. And in the new hymnal, I think there's 50, maybe 60. I haven't counted them. Some of them are the same format we've been using. Some are different formats. Some are brand new. And then the Psalter actually has all 150. It has at least one setting of all 150. If you go to Psalm 23, there are 6 different settings. So that we'll have a large number of choices when it comes to using God's Old Testament songbook. And some of them are chants like we do now with by the half verse, by the full verse. Some of them actually are hymn settings. I know at least one of the Psalm 23 ones is that melody, Psalm 23. So some of them are hymns. And we only purchased 100 of them, and I don't think we're going to keep them. Initially, we're not going to have them in the pew racks. Our intention was if we use one from that and not from this hymnal, that we'll have a rolling bookcase, and we'll just roll it in the church. You'll be told to pick one up as you come in, and then replace it when church is done. Next weekend, the Synod has set up, or the new hymnal committee has set up what they're calling Wells National Hymnal Fest Week, something like that. And so we are going to be introducing parts of what's going to be called setting number 2, which is a new worship, the new worship service. There are 3 basic services in the new hymnal, and we're going to take a quick peek at some of the items in number 2. We're going to learn a new hymn, a new psalm, a new canticle. Those are the liturgical songs, and a section that's called the Gospel Acclamation, which will replace the verse of the day. So we're going to have small group choirs leading that, kind of introducing it in the services next weekend. We could use a few more singers. We have about a dozen. We would like to have more than that, so we can have small choirs of 4, 5, 6 people at each of the services. They were not hard to sing. About 7 or 8 of you here came to our first practice. If you are able and willing, this coming Thursday we'll again be practicing those 4 pieces for the services next weekend, and hopefully you'll be able to sing at least one, if not more than one of the services, so we can have those small groups introducing, which is about half of the new stuff in service setting number 2. Because we don't have communion, we're not going to be learning yet the communion parts for that service. We also have out on the table, then other things with the hymnal festival is that between services next Sunday, in place of the Bible class, or at this point, we'll be in here in church again, I think, and we are going to participate in a hymn sing. It's been recorded. I watched a little bit of it the other day. It's about 50 minutes long. We're going to be introduced to 11 new hymns and a new psalm, sung by the children's choir at Christ the Lord in Brookfield, Luther Prep Singers, and one of the Martin Luther College choirs. They're going to introduce those hymns to us, 2 from Advent, 2 from Christmas, 2 from Epiphany, 2 from Lent, 2 from Easter, 2 from the general season of the church year. They'll sing them for us. We'll get to join in and sing along with the video. Should be pretty interesting. So that's between services. We'll start at 9:10, 9:15 next week between the services. So hopefully you'll be willing to stay, learn a little bit about the new hymnal. There'll be an introduction, a few words by Pastor John Zabel, who is one of the members of the new hymnal committee. He'll have some things to say in between sections as well. Then next week in the bulletin, in the service folder, we'll have some links that you can go to learn more about the hymnal, different aspects of the hymnal and worship and things like that. That if you want to learn more about it, you can. We also have out on the table, and we have for a number of months a preview of the hymnal. You can see some more what all the features are of the hymnal as well. So there's lots of stuff coming out. The hymnals are in the process of being printed. We should get our orders, our ordered 200 and 100 in the coming weeks, sometime in October, and we'll start using it after Thanksgiving. Whether we start right away with jumping in full feet or just putting our toe in the water. It's not like we're going to learn everything in 3 months anyways from the new hymnal. So the worship committee will make plans, and the synods committee has given us direction on how to gradually introduce the parts of the new hymnal. So it'll take a while for us to get used to. If you would like to pick up the cost for a hymnal or two or a psalter or two, we have these order forms out on the table with an envelope attached. You can order, if you're willing to donate some hymnals to the congregation of those 200, you can fill in how many you'd be willing to cover. They are $24 a piece for the hymnal. The psalter is $22 a piece. So you can, you don't have to go out and donate 25 of them, because hopefully we will get lots of people to donate them, but however you're willing, you might be able to. And then if you want your name included, you can put presented by with your name, or in honor of, or in memory of, mom and dad's, or our 50th anniversary, or in memory of great grandpa George, or whatever the case might be. You have that opportunity. You also will give you the opportunity to order a hymnal or a psalter, or more if you wish, for your personal use. Same cost, $24 or $22, and so you can indicate how many of those you might want. So if you want one for at home, you just fill out the bottom part, and then just put your order blank and your check inside the envelope and turn it into the offering box. If you have questions, you can see Pastor Wessel or me about that. Then on Sunday the 26th, so 2 weeks from today, there is going to be, and we'll have the link for it, a concert, again with the MLC choir, the Luther Prep choir, a group called Canticum Novum, which is a instrumental group, vocal group, okay? And then also Trinitas, is that what they're called? It's the contemporary liturgical group from Trinity Waukesha, led by Professor Aaron Christie from our seminary. They will have about an hour and a half concert of new music from the new hymnal. So that'll be on Sunday. We'll put that link in probably on the 26th, so you don't get them all confused. Any questions on that with the new hymnal? Don't be bashful. Any questions? Okay. Let's see here. What's next on my list? Let's make sure. I mentioned about choir. If you can come Thursday night to help us introduce those first few elements, 6:30 on Thursday here in church. Bible class. Last Sunday, how many of you saw the video that I showed at the end of the service? Just about all of you? Okay. One by one, that's our new Bible class. It'll be starting in 2 weeks. Thursday the 23rd at 10:30. If you are a normal Thursday one, we moved it about half an hour later. But 10:30 down in the cafeteria, or the room 101. And on next Sunday, or not next Sunday, the 26th. So 23rd and 26th, we're starting that new Bible class called One-on-One, Evangelism, emphasis. You got to see Pastor Rosenau, interesting guy. I don't want to give all of his presentation away, but each of the lessons will begin with have a video clip or two of him from a presentation he made down in Chicago at a National Wells Leadership Conference a year and a half ago that Pastor Wessel and I attended. So there's a sign-up sheet on the table in the entryway for that, or you can sign up online in the link that's in your worship folder. Any questions on the Bible class? Okay, stewardship. New stewardship program is going to be starting in October. It's going to be a little bit different than we've had in previous years, where we've had like 3 weeks in a row in late January, early February, something like that. What it's going to be, the theme of it is called A God-Lived Life. And it's how do we want to express our faith? How do we live our faith in serving our God? And it's a 4-part series that each part lasts 4 weeks. Now, not that we're going to be preaching on stewardship for 16 weeks, but there will be a kickoff Sunday for each 4-week segment. So the first segment will start on October 3rd, and it's called A God-Lived Life, the Life of Being a Disciple. You'll see cards like this on the ends of the pew or handed out by the ushers. The stewardship committee is just finalizing it yet. And so the first weekend, it'll be emphasized in the service with a special sermon emphasis. And then members will be encouraged to pick up a card, and this is the key component of it. They're called challenge cards. We're going to challenge you then for 4 weeks to focus on one aspect of our faith. And so this is a card from Christ the Lord. They've already, Dee Techland shared with me, and they have, and we had about, the stewardship committee has picked, we're picking 4 or 5 challenges where we want to challenge you as members for the next 4 weeks to attend a home Bible study together. Well, we have one group like that if you want to do that, but I don't think we're putting it on our card. But to pray, to work on your prayer life, to attend in-person worship weekly. Well, that one we're not putting on because we expect all of you to do that anyways. But start a Bible reading plan. I'll be putting together this week just a 4-week Bible reading plan throughout, to encourage you to read the Bible a couple chapters a day for those 4 weeks. Schedule a time for family devotion. I know that's one of the ones that we have on there. Another one we have is involving your children if you have children, in the discussion of what they learned at Sunday school, Christian day school, or Bible church for 15 minutes a week. So that we have 4 or 5 of those challenges, and each month you'll get a card, or they'll be, like I say, distributed for you to, and we're not going to collect the copy and then check on you to make sure you carried it all out. We're going to put that on your own conscience to do that. And you can add your own thing. If you have a different challenge you want to take up that we don't have on the card, we'll let you do that too. But by God's grace, I commit to these goals. You sign it and you keep it somewhere prominently in your house. And that's the point of the series, is to help you live a more full and worship God-centered life every day. Not just for the hour you come to church, not just when you drop the offering in the envelope or your envelope in the offering box, but to put God's word to practice every day of your lives in various ways. So the first week is, our first month in October 3rd to the 3, 10, 17, and 24 is the life of being a disciple, a God-lived life. In November, starting the 14th of November, because we got a big special mission festival on the weekend of the 7th. You'll be hearing more about that. But in mid-November to the first week of December is a God-lived life for others. So I'll be focusing on how do I interact with the people around me in my community and my congregation. Then in third week of January, we start a God-lived life of hospitality, getting to know your members and neighbors. And then in mid-February to the first Sunday of Lent in March, the God lived a life lived shrewdly, and that's based on the parable of the shrewd manager, of how do we use our financial gifts in service to the Lord as well. So each month you'll get a card like that with 4 or 5 suggestions for you to put your faith to live a godly life. Comments on that or questions? Okay. That's all I have. Let's make sure I covered all my notes. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me?
Okay. No particular order, then why don't we do finance next? Mr. Schumacher.
There's a printed report in the back of church if you wanted to pick one up. I didn't have that much to say about it. This is the financial report for the period July and August. We're falling a little bit behind in the unified budget offerings. That's the first line on there, 310. After the first 2 months, we're about $9,400 behind, but we still had enough money in the checking account to be able to meet all of our bills. As far as the expense accounts, there's really nothing too unusual about that. The only variances would be because of timing differences. The budget is evenly divided between the 12 months, so the 2/12 of the annual budget are represented in the budget column. And in the first column, because our reporting is on a cash basis, only expenses that have actually been paid out of the checkbook are recorded as expenses. So obviously, if you're looking on page 2, accounts like 632, surprisingly enough, there was no snow removal expenses during July and August. So those are the kind of variances that you'd see. Going to the third page, it's the balance sheet, so you can see the balance of all of the cash accounts there. Line 114, the Wisconsin Lutheran High School Tuition Assistance Fund. In previous reports, that number was $1,500, but we did make or $15,000, I should say. We did have a $5,000 payment to WISCO to help 5 of the Woodlawn students that are going there with their tuition assistance. Then, as we're looking at that, you might as well just go a couple of lines down to line 118. You can see we do have $1,570 there in the new hymnal fund. That was a memorial by the Barassa family when Ken Barassa passed away. But judging by the total amount per hymnal of $24. I don't have my calculator here, but it looks like it's enough for 60 hymnals, so we're still going to need some additional contributions.
Just to clarify on that, we were going to use that money not for the hymnals that go into the pew, but for the books that the choir, the organists, and the pastors will need. So each, there's 6 volumes of books for the organists to have all the hymn settings, all the liturgical settings, and all the psalm settings. And the set of those 6 books runs about $250. We're ordering 2 sets, so some of that will be used for those. Then there are also those we've already ordered. There are some additional books we haven't ordered yet that would be covered by the memorial as well. The pastor's books would be the ones you see us using on the altar for the service book, what's called the agenda, and the occasional services book. So most of that will go towards those sets of books that the regular member will probably never touch, but Nancy will wear them out. So Nancy and Dee and Jean, our musicians, will wear them out. So most of that memorial is not going to be going for the pew. And then we also have another gift, an anonymous gift from members that will cover what's called the Service Builder. There's a program from the publishing house that will be used by our secretary to print out the worship folder in a matter of minutes, as opposed to the hours that it takes her nowadays to do that. And that's an annual subscription based on the size of the congregation. So that family is going to be covering the first 3 years of at least the first 3 years of the subscription. So most of that memorial and already special designated money has been and the Barassa Memorial have been designated already. So we still need donations from members to cover the cost of those hymnals. So just to clarify here.
Okay, thank you. The only other comment I had was on the endowment fund. That's up to almost 632,000. The stock market has been pretty good lately. Well, except for maybe last week. I think the Dow was down 2% just last week. So hopefully that can pick up a little bit more. Is there any questions on the report?
this? All right.
Morning. So youth ministry, we have had a few joint outings with Jordan and Good Shepherds, and we're currently working on some plans for some additional outings. Today starts Sunday school and teen Bible study. So if you have anyone in those age groups or know some people, encourage them. And our girl and boy pioneer leaders have requested some additional help. So if you can help out, or you know someone that might be willing to help out, encourage them to contact. The information is in the newsletter for our newsletter. It's been in there, but they are looking for help because apparently the group's getting a little bit bigger. They are working with Good Shepherds. We've worked with Jordan previously, and we're adding another church. So they're looking for more help. Any questions, comments? All right, thank you.
I don't see Jeff Yeager here, so I can report briefly on evangelism. For about a year and a half, we didn't have any formal organized meetings, but I would say with the development of the live stream technology in our church here, although we may think of it primarily reaching members who are not attending worship here, it's a great opportunity for evangelism as well. If you're a Facebook person, it's really easy to share a worship video on your page, and hopefully people that you know that may be at least mildly interested, who are no longer or have not been attending church, maybe they'll be able to hear a message that the Holy Spirit will use to enlighten them a little bit, and maybe they'll get more interested in finding out more about our congregation or asking you questions because of the worship video that you shared. So I think the technology in that regard has been a wonderful blessing for outreach. We did just start having formal meetings again. We met at the end of August. We're meeting again in a couple weeks here. We do have one fellowship event planned. We're going to do the Packer Party / game day in October. We didn't do that last year because of conditions. It's going to be the 17th of October, Sunday the 17th after church. Packers play the Bears that day. It's going to be a potluck. And if you don't want to watch the game, that's fine. We'll have opportunities for board games and stuff as well for those who want to do that and just enjoy being together. I think that's about all I have for evangelism. Obviously, the upcoming Bible study that Pastor Knazer referred to, the one-on-one Bible study with Pastor Rosenau. One of the things we want to do is encourage and train members to do outreach. Outreach is not just a formal thing that a congregation organizes, but it's something that each and every individual Christian, yourselves, has the opportunity to do all the time. And the encouragement of Pastor Rosenau and the discussion in those Bible studies is going to be a big help in helping all of us evaluate our own mission setting that we have, each and every one of us in our families, with our neighborhood, co-workers, whoever it is. So I really, really strongly encourage you to attend that Bible study in whatever way that you can. I'll just report briefly on the school as well. We do have a school bulletin board by the main doors across from Pastor Knazer's office, so that's a good thing to look at again and again. Mrs. Gasper usually updates that. We don't have updated pictures yet for the new staff. Mrs. Wilkins would be the new staff member. Pictures will be taken this week. We have about 60 students this year. It's fluctuated a little bit these first few weeks, with a few leaving, a few coming, so we're right around 60 students. And then Mr. McCain, our principal, should be producing a printed report of kind of how things are going in the beginning of the school year here, and that printed report should be available next weekend. So we'll have copies either in the carousel or on the table out there for you to find out more information. But currently on that bulletin board there is the September newsletter with just a brief update from each of the teachers. So if you don't spend any time in that corner, please take the time to see the updates from the school there. script order due tomorrow? If you're not a script person, I can tell you more about it. 20th. Tomorrow's not the 20th? I'm jumping ahead, sorry. Then you got lots of time.
All right, the maintenance, I talked with Joe Lucchese. It's kind of status quo right now, in large part because of the M4M work, which I'll be talking about here in a second. He did say they're going to be putting new carbon monoxide detectors in the school, so huzzah. Okay, as far as the M4M work then, it's back on. It kind of took a pause the last few months while the involved churches were trying to figure out the next steps. Divine Peace, which is one of the 4 congregations in talks with us, they had already kind of backed out from us, and they have since decided to close. So they're actually going to be closing sometime later this fall. They're working through with the synod on that. So of the 3 remaining churches, the consensus from Good Shepherds was that there wasn't quite enough information to have an informed vote. And so we are taking a step back and we're forming 5 subcommittees. And it's an executive subcommittee, which is basically just representatives from each of the churches to make sure work's getting done and the schedules are met, so on and so forth. We have a school subcommittee with a goal of penciling together what a new merged school would look like. So it's not going to answer every absolute question, but it's supposed to give a better, clearer vision versus this kind of approach we took for the last presentation. Same with a financial subcommittee. What might the new unified budget look like? And what would we take into account as far as staffing and property costs, stuff like that. There will be a property subcommittee, which is trying to create a vision of how we would use either the 3 campuses that we currently own or potentially some new type of campus, but either way they're going to be presenting some sort of options, both in the short term and potentially, kind of a vision if we have to take that in phases. And then all the pastors are going to be working together to create a ministerial plan. Once again, what might it look like? Not necessarily, and with all these, it's not, these are the pastors we're going to call, these are the teachers we're going to call, this is the absolute way we're doing this. It's putting together ideas. So it's like, well, we should have 4 pastors and one would be focused towards X, Y, Z, that type of thought process. The idea is that we're going to start these subcommittees next month. So all the congregations are going to decide who the representatives will be in the next couple weeks, put together the subcommittees to start active work in October with an idea of having presentations back to the churches in January and then a vote to follow very shortly thereafter. And at this point, we are talking once again about that binding vote, which we didn't end up doing this past spring. So that's the highest level view of what we have going on. There will, of course, be more information. I am the executive representative from Woodlawn, so I'll be responsible for relaying information to you guys. So once again, certainly ask me with any questions. And then once we know what the other subcommittee volunteers are, then of course we'll share all that information as well. So are there any questions on that? Okay. Was there any other subcommittee work that I missed as far as reporting to the open forum? Yeah. Okay, and then I guess I open the floor. Is there anything else that anyone here wants to bring up? Any questions, comments? All right, hearing nothing, then I guess the open forum can be over. We do another one of these when? November? All right, so, all right, well, then I guess thanks everyone for your time and drive safe or stay around for church. Thanks.